But with that, it is 2:02. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Director of Industry Strategy and Community here at TeamSense. And I want to start by first telling you guys why this particular conversation matters so much to me personally. At TeamSense, we talk a lot about like what's possible with frontline teams when you have the right visibility into the workforce. You've got real-time attendance data, proactive communication, absence patterns that actually mean something. But what we don't get to always show you is what happens after all that data exists, right? Like, what does the team actually do with it? How far does it reach? What happens? Because when our CEO built TeamSense, when I sourced TeamSense across 7,000 people in 12 sites, we both knew it would help HR teams manage attendance better. And what I know from my time on the floor and what we've continued to learn from customers like the one we're going to talk to today is that attendance data, it doesn't stay in HR. It travels. It finds its way into production planning meetings, into finance conversations, into how the CEO, COO, excuse me, thinks about cost per unit. And that's the evolution that we're building towards at TeamSense in 2026. If you caught our roadmap webinar last month, you heard from our VP of product, Alvaro Soto, as he kind of laid out that vision, right? Real-time shift start visibility, unified availability data, absence, leave, punch signals, skills, all in one place, feeding faster decisions upstream. AI that doesn't just surface a problem, but helps your team act on it before the shift falls apart. AI that, as Mia once told me, puts the human back in human resources. And that's the destination. What Mia has done at Toyo Tires has, and what she's built right now today, is proof that it works. When Mia came to TeamSense, Toyo Tires had a 53% attrition rate. They were tracking attendance through plant voicemail, messages that didn't go through. There was no way to see patterns, no way to plan, no way to connect what was happening on the floor to what was happening in the business. But Mia had an instinct that was simple, yet uncommon, particularly in HR. Treat it like a math problem. Mia was HR thinking like an engineer. She what she built isn't just an attendance system, it's a production intelligence system. Call off patterns now inform production forecasting. Attendance data feeds cost per tire calculations. Overtime isn't reactive, it's planned. Reliability scores feed directly into performance reviews. And attrition, it dropped from 53 to 34.47%. What Mia built is exactly what future we're building towards at TeamSense. And she's doing it right now, today, in a tire manufacturing plant in Georgia. So that's why I've asked her here today, not to talk about what's possible, but to show you what's already real and what you can accomplish when you put people first. So, with that, Mia, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Wow. You make it sound so important. But it
It
really
isn't.
is. When you think about it, it is. It's your human capital is your most important asset. And when you start thinking about it from that lens, great things can happen, right? Because you understand the value of people and their responses and why they're responding to things in an organization the way they are. So super excited to be here and super excited to be talking with you, Devin.
Thank you. With that, can you share more? Because your why, and you've touched on it a little bit, your why, um, like about what drives you, I think is a really, really important. Can you, I guess, formally introduce yourself, Miss Famous
Absolutely.
Leader of HR Leader at Toyo Tires? Can you formally introduce yourself and tell us like your why, what drives you?
Absolutely. So I'm Mia Williams. I am the senior HR business partner. So I'm a senior manager here at Toyo Tire. I've been in HR for almost 30 years, believe it or not. It's been a long time. I started my career as a production supervisor at Ford Motor Company, but very quickly realized that the people element of how manufacturing works was really what I was interested in.
Mhm.
And so my first role in HR was the single point of contact for attendance, believe it or not, which is very interesting. And then when I left for a motor company, I went on to Honeywell and other organizations. But I really still kept that mindset around, people have unique needs, and oftentimes we ignore those needs. And one of the things I celebrate and I share it with Devin is that manufacturing really is what established the middle class. I was very fortunate. My dad, he hired in at Ford Motor Company around 18, 19 years old, newlywed. Him and my mom got married right out of high school and very quickly had 5 children. And I kind of laugh about that because, I grew up in a middle class environment, middle class neighborhood, and, it really afforded me the opportunity, him working in manufacturing, to get a college degree and really made life well for our family. And so I've
Mhm.
always had a passion for manufacturing and what it has done in this country. But equally, I've always had the mindset of how so often when I became involved in manufacturing, how some people really didn't know how to leverage the opportunities in
Yeah.
working in a manufacturing environment, right? Like oftentimes, there was attendance issues and things of that nature, and reliability issues, which I'll get into a little bit more, that put jobs at risk. For it being unionized, it was kind of easy to get your job back if you had attendance issues, right?
Yeah.
However, other manufacturing organizations, even like my own, has a point system in which it's not so easy. Once you hit those point factors, you're basically no longer employed with the organization.
Mhm.
And for me, I really started thinking about what makes people make a decision in their mind that they're going to risk it all, right? Risk their security of their family, risk their employment. And there's often other factors, but there's leading indicators, right? And I'm like thinking to myself, man, when I first heard about TeamSense, I'm like, oh, wow, I am so excited. This gives us an opportunity to understand why people, number one, are missing work, but also get out in front of the reasons and
Mhm.
provide support
Yeah.
and resources. And fortunately, our COO was very dedicated to wanting to understand, like, if we can get people to come to work, if we can get people what they need so they can be successful, and it's not just start like our tenured people, but our new hires, right?
Right.
We hire people that oftentimes they have transportation insecurities, they have childcare insecurities, they have food insecurities, things of that nature, right? And it's easy to ignore and just say, hey, they just don't want to come to work. But there's factors
It
that
is.
people have that can create a situation where they're not able to attend work, or it has a snowball effect. So what TeamSense has done for us, when we analyze our data and we look from department to department and look at everyone individually, we can identify, hey, they're saying they've had transportation issues several times. They're saying they have childcare issues several times. We reach out to our employees. How can we help you?
Mhm.
And as that time went on, we realized that we had more concerns related to issues that people could not control or felt outside of their control.
Right.
And our COO put a actual position in place to address those issues and those concerns of our people who's out in the community, connecting our team members with United Way or food banks or free rent, housing subsidies, uh, discounts to purchase vehicles. Right now, we're working through a new process where we're going to have a bus that helps pick up our people and bring them to work. So that
Wow.
number one, it helps them become more reliable,
Right.
right? Because they're able to address whatever concern they have, but also
Mhm.
it makes people feel cared about,
It
right?
does.
Yeah, now I'm invested more in you than just you building a tire, right? I'm investing in
You
your
as a person.
children. Yeah, I'm investing in your
Right.
children. I'm investing into you purchasing that home. I'm invested in you going
Yep.
back to school. I'm invested in the trajectory of your life. Your not just your time on the floor, but how do we help develop you and how do we get you to that next level and how do we coach you up so that you understand the broader opportunities, right? And
Hmm.
so it has been a journey, but man, it has been one of the uh, best journeys that I could ever imagine. Just really being connected to people and being able
Yeah.
to even share my story with people. You know,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, I've worked in corporate environments and other organizations, but my heart is really with manufacturing because I've seen from the lens of my father being an hourly employee who, when he started, he didn't even have a high school diploma. And he was able to get his high school diploma and then educate his children. And all of us have went to college, was able to do that, and how it was life changing for him and what his background
Yeah.
previously was, and how it was life changing for me, how I was able to take care of my son. I became a single mom and really was like, man, this could really be tough. But someone
Right.
invested in me and cared about me because I was that person who kind of struggled with childcare insecurity at first. Transportation was not an issue, but I was very blessed, right? And so I'm even approaching my organization as, we look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Right.
That is our focus every time we approach our attendance discussions. We're looking at the Maslow chart and really making some decisions based around making sure we're helping with those foundational things that our employees need.
Absolutely. So I want to help, connect all of these dots for the audience.
Hmm.
And can we kind of go back in time before TeamSense? How
Yes,
were call-offs and attendance handled at Toyo Tires, and what was the biggest breakdown?
it was terrible. So
Fair.
So I just it was terrible. So prior to TeamSense, employees would try to reach out to their supervisors. They would call into the plant landlines, and that's an interesting thing. We don't allow cell phones into the plant, so they
Yeah.
would call a landline, hope someone answers,
Hmm.
hope that the voicemail box is not full, and hope to leave a message. So as you can imagine, most of the times our supervisors did not know if people were going to show up. So beginning of the shift was always just scattered and crazy and running around and trying to make sure equipment was covered. No, I mean, just the panic of startup every single day, and we're a 24/7 operation. So as you could imagine, not knowing who's there, what bodies you have, what talent you have, where you're going to place people, and trying to move your manpower around, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
so challenging, right? And so we were losing tires every day at the beginning of every shift, right? And we're on 12-hour shifts. So if you're losing, X hundred tires every day, simply due to not knowing who's going to
Who's
be
going to
in
be
the
there?
building, what department is going to be challenged, not being able to say, yes, I'm going to need call some people in for overtime. It's really, when you think about it, it's an antiquated way of doing things, but it was like no one really knew any better way of doing it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So you guys are stuck in this antiquated method that's not great. You're somehow still meeting production numbers, albeit you're making
Yeah.
up for it in other ways.
Yes,
And you started to realize there was more going on beneath the surface, right? You're being reactive. You
absolutely.
can't be proactive. There's bigger issues. When you look deeper, what were you discovering behind, like, was the issue behind the attendance issues you were having?
So when I looked deeper, I realized there was multiple things, right? Number one, there were very specific reasons why people were calling off. So I was able to really address those issues and those concerns. We even discovered that we had some ergonomic issues, that when we had people calling off, sometimes they were working multiple shifts back to back and they were experiencing aches and pains and body
Mm.
breakdown, right?
Yep.
We discovered that in a very specific department, we were very heavily loaded with a younger workforce who were starting families and things of that nature.
Okay.
So childcare was an issue. We also discovered that, hey, there were times where we just weren't really aware of how the weather was going to impact us, just multiple things that we just weren't paying attention to. So we were starting to be, now we're able to look at trends, right, and say,
Mhm.
okay, this is what's going to be happening in the community, and this is what's going to be happening in sports, and this is what's going to be happening. And then now we're able to drill down, know that we're going to spend some overtime money, but not as much as we used to. I mean, we were
Right.
hemorrhaging overtime dollars just to make production, because we never knew how many people were going to be out. And
Mm.
so we thought we were being proactive by having all these people sign up for overtime, but in reality, we were hemorrhaging and driving up our cost per tire because we didn't have the level of transparency we needed. So what we
Wow.
realized is that by having that advanced knowledge and knowing of how many people were going to be out, that reduced significantly our cost per tire. And I did
Wow.
not share this with you, Devin, but it's something that I just talked about in calibrations last week. We have a gain share program. And as a result of um, being able to reduce the amount of overtime and have more presenteeism and greater reliability, we were able to pay out our gain share. So it benefited our entire hourly workforce.
That's
Isn't that
unbelievable. Like,
awesome?
that's about as exciting news as you can get on the floor, right? When you're like, bonus time,
Exactly.
right? That's
Exactly.
unbelievable.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's wonderful. It is wonderful, you
Okay.
know?
So, okay, can you, and maybe I don't have them, but I'm gonna challenge and I'm gonna ask, right?
Mhm.
How much do you think you were able to reduce overtime because you were able to be proactive?
So I would say in the department that we had the most overtime, we were able to reduce our overtime hours by 30%.
Unbelievable. I mean,
That is a
that's a huge chunk of money.
Oh gosh, yes. Yes. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And the other piece to that is it increased morale. The reason why, it's very hard to come to work and you're working your job and you're watching people come in on overtime who are just walking around
Mm.
because
Yes, because they have to be, right?
yes, yes,
Yes.
because there's nowhere to place them. They're
Yep.
walking around, and our organization is somewhat unique because we can't just flex people to another department because
Mm.
they may not know how, they in most
They're
cases
not
don't know how
trained.
to do those jobs. They're not trained, right?
Yep.
So you see people who come in, and at minimum, we're still going to have to pay them the 4 hours. So
Sure
it
are.
was really, eye opening for us when we were able to say, hey, based off of trends, based off of the number of call offs we have, we should only require this number of overtime hours in each department, and being able
Wow.
to hold on to that. So, and we report out every morning in our 9 o'clock meeting how many hours of overtime we spent, and we've significantly shown a significant decrease of overtime hours in every department.
Unbelievable. So, decrease in overtime hours.
Mm-hmm.
You've decreased your overstaffing because,
Yes,
so I'm assuming there's had to been a reduction in no call, no shows and overstaffing.
absolutely.
Can you give me a metric?
Yes. I don't have it right with me, but let me see. If you can give me a second. I have my report from this morning.
Because Mia, this is, I mean, and I want to get back when you're done sharing these metrics, as you look for them, I'll share. Like, I want to get back to the emotional people side of it
Yes.
because we chase in operations, right? When I was on the floor, you chase that productivity number. You
Oh,
chase the
absolutely.
units. But you
Absolutely.
were like, you don't start with the units. You started
Exactly.
somewhere else. So
Exactly.
lay it on me. What were the numbers?
Okay, so when we look at our, okay, I'm going to give you our tire per hour. I'm looking at our tire per hour report. We initially, without having last year, due to no call, no shows and attendance, we were able to go from 2,509 to 2,742. Here's the chart. Oh, you can't see it, but
No, I
here's the
can't see it.
chart here.
But come on, Mia. I
Yes.
hope that, like, I hope you recognize how phenomenal of a person you are. And you guys, like, I
Thank
don't
you.
say this casually. Like, I come with high energy. You know this, Mia, right? This is just how I
Yes.
am. But genuinely, you're just an amazing a person. And you shared a story with me that I would love for you to share with everybody here. There's a reason, a pivotal person that you saw, that was your trigger to say, I have to do something. I have to make a change because all these metrics are because you cared about people. Do you mind sharing the story about that woman that you shared with me?
The young lady in my new hire orientation class.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay, so it's still is a very emotional story for me. When
it
I
is.
first hired in here, we had a young lady who was in our new hire orientation class, and we provided lunch and snacks and things of that nature. And um, one day, she kind of lingered back, and she was putting her snacks in her bag, and she was gathering some things, and she shared with me how grateful she was to be working at Toyo Tires. And she also shared with me that she was dealing with homelessness, and that she would come in during orientation. Her children would be waiting for her in the car because she had nowhere to keep them, and she would take the snacks to her children so that they could eat. And she wow, it still makes me tear up. I apologize because we don't know how
No,
much people are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And
no, we don't.
she had she was like, this job means everything to me, and being able to remain here and work here and make sure I'm able to get housing for my children and feed my children uh, is going to be game changing for me. And I will share with you, Devin, we did do a Toyo ambassador um, video that we talked to several people who have very compelling stories about coming to Toyo Tires and being embraced and having a family. And I really realized that, man, people are dealing with things. And oftentimes, when we've been employed for a long time or in our jobs a long time, we forget that people have a story, right? And that people are
Yeah,
just trying to survive. People don't are, you get a few bad apples here and there about people who don't want to do the right thing, but for the
yeah.
most part, people want to do the right thing, right?
Mhm.
And then understanding too, I talk a lot about um, the working poor, and if you go and look at statistics, people are more working class is shifting down to the working poor because the cost of living has increased tremendously. A lot of people are one paycheck away from homelessness or one paycheck away from losing their vehicle. You organizations have to be sensitive to that. We
Yeah.
have to have people at the helm who are thinking bigger and more strategic about how do you care for the people. If you care for the people, they'll care for the product. And then your product, what you put out in the market, is reflected of that care, right? They're going to care more about quality. They're going to
Hmm.
care about safety. They're going to care about they're going to be excited to have the brand of Toyo Tires or wherever it is on their shirt, right? They're going to be proud to say this is where I work
Yeah.
because they feel cared about, right? they feel connected to something greater. And I really love the mindset shift that we have. I don't know if you're familiar with the book by Carol Dweck. It's called Mindset, and
Okay.
I keep it right on my desk. And it talks about moving from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And then I focus on growth mindset and transformational mindset. And oftentimes, what happens, especially with old school manufacturing, man, we have a fixed mindset. People just don't want to come to work. People just don't want to do this. And this is what's happening.
But
The
not
world,
you.
yeah, I had to make sure that I didn't think that way. And also understanding that the world changed post COVID, right? People's
Mhm.
needs changed, mental health changed,
Yeah.
people's finances changed, and we have to think bigger, right? In HR, that's our role, right? Is to protect our human capital. And
Right.
oftentimes we get caught up in the numbers, and the numbers are meaningful, but how you address your people and use that data to protect versus punish is all the difference in the world.
It does, you shared something with me that I have purposely since the last time we've talked, reiterated numerous times. And you shared that the same system that is designed to get people out of poverty is
Mhm.
the same system that ends up keeping them there because it is so punitive, right? The attendance
Yeah,
policy, you join and then you get hit with that attendance policy, and now you have no job. And so when you first came across TeamSense, you were looking at it through a very different lens.
absolutely. 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 It's funny because, and I go back to my dad a lot because, like I said, him working at Ford was game changing for our family, right?
Right.
Um, my mother didn't have to work, right? So he didn't have to worry about childcare and things of that nature. You fast forward to today, and a
You
lot of
have
companies
to.
are still using those same attendance policies and point systems, and not saying, hey, what is the why behind this, right?
Hmm.
Not using uh lean six sigma to address attendance. What is the five whys, right? And so now you fast forward, and typically you have two parent households.
Yeah.
Uh, Someone, if there's a sick kid or something is happening, someone's going to take that hit, right? And if
Mhm.
you're operating within that same attendance system, likely it's going to be, in some cases, the mom or whoever is the primary caregiver for that child. So then
Right.
they slip back into poverty, right? And now it's a vicious cycle. And people, whether we like it or not, right? Those taxpayers are the ones who pay the price for
Right.
people not being able to maintain employment. And so we
Yeah.
have to think about that, right? Like, how do we keep our communities employed? How do we ensure we connect them to the resources so that they're able to be tax-paying citizens? And that's important and it's valuable.
It unbelievably. And for you, part of that answer was team sense.
Oh yeah,
What
absolutely.
made you realize team sense was going to be a game changer, not just for your frontline workers, but for your entire community?
What made me realize that is because after hearing that woman's story and hearing multiple other people's stories in the organization, I realized that if we can get in front of concerns, right? Before a person points out, when we see, oh, they have 2, 3 points, we can reach out and connect with them. And we can
Hmm.
ask the question, how do we support you? How do we keep you here? How do we make sure you're employed? Even if it's going through the interactive process, right? What are the things that we can do based on this report? We're seeing these trends. We're seeing, because everybody has a pattern of behavior, right?
We do.
Everybody.
We do.
Yes. And when a person's pattern of behavior shifts, if there's someone there to catch them and help them, get back to their baseline and maintain that foundational piece that they need, and that is housing, food, shelter, clothing, those securities, and help them maintain, they elevate, right? They go up that Maslow hierarchy of needs. They elevate, right? And so
They
that
do.
was just my desire when I seen TeamSense and what it could do. The first thing that came to mind is, hey, we can be proactive. We
Hmm.
can maintain these people who, hey, they took the time to apply. We took the time to interview them, test them, and get them in here. Why would we not want to keep them? We've seen the value in onboarding them. We've seen the value of bringing them into Toyo Tires. Let's keep them here and
Have you
let's show them that
seen
we care.
have you seen a massive reduction in you've had to have seen a massive reduction in turnover,
Oh,
right?
absolutely, absolutely, very significant. I mean, before I was last year, and I wish I would have could have pulled up the data where we were losing 50 people a month. Now we're down to 18, maybe 20.
Unbelievable. So we're talking like 75% reduction
Absolutely, absolutely.
in your turnover.
For a while,
And
we were very much overstaffed because we were anticipating that our turnover would look a certain way compared to what we trended year over year. And now it's significantly dropped. So now we're overstaffed.
wow. Okay, so you you were like, I'm going to use TeamSense, right? I'm going to meet
Mhm.
a production need, but more importantly, I'm going to find a way to understand what's happening in my workforce.
Yes.
And you got attendance data and insights.
Mhm.
Now what did you do with it?
So what I do on a day-to-day basis and then weekly and monthly. On a day-to-day basis, I report out what our call-offs are and our strategy for those attendance issues on a daily basis, and that goes to our ER team. Weekly, we look at the trends of the attendance and we do a comparative, and we provide that to our COO. And then on a monthly basis, we report out how many people were at risk of termination based on attendance, how many people we reached out to and were able to connect with, and if we've seen a reduction. So we put them in a attendance crisis program, if you will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we put them in an attendance crisis program, and we make sure that we're addressing those call offs. We make sure that those attendance points are correct. If there's something that we could have done about those points, say, for example, they may have qualified for FMLA. We make sure we go through the interactive
Ah,
process. So we are very intentional. Our entire ER team is very intentional about reaching out to our employees and understanding their attendance. And if you know somebody's going to reach out to you and ask the question, you're less likely to miss work and make up lies for no reason, right? You're more like, I just don't want them asking. And
right.
it turns into, because we talk about attendance, but we measure reliability. And
I
we
love
talk
it.
to our hourly employees about their reliability.
Can
When
you?
you hear someone say, "Hey, I counted on you to be here and I don't understand what happened." That changes the game, right?
It does. It does.
Versus saying, "Why weren't you at work?" "Hey, I was counting on you. I was counting on you. The team needed you today."
I love that. So you've changed the entire mindset. When you first rolled out TeamSense, um, I'm gonna have two questions here at the same time.
Mhm.
One, how did you get approval for TeamSense? And then two, you use that data early on to go to
Yes.
your COO. Can you share more about that? So how did you get COO approval? And then you went back to the same COO, right? And you said, we gotta do something.
Yes. So, interestingly, I seen TeamSense. I knew I wanted it, but we were like budget constraint, and they were like, "We're not doing anything." And so, you can get through anybody through their belly, right? And so, I
Me
I
too.
invited all of the SLT and all of the leaders to a chili event that I had. I cooked all the food myself. I used to cater back in my yesteryear. So I did like four different chilies, cornbread, you name it. I invited Team Sense to come and present.
Okay.
And when TeamSense came in and presented, of course, they had their attention because they're all sitting there eating and they're paying attention.
Right.
Yeah, and they're like, okay. And so shortly after that, what I did, I went to our CO. I said, what did you think about the presentation? And he was like, I thought it was really good. And I said, hey, I've been tracking what our attendance have looked like. Look at the number of people, look at our attendance points, look at all the at-risk employees we have. I
Mm.
mean, we had about 100 people at risk of termination because of attendance points
Oh my God.
right
Out of how
before we
many?
out of 1,500. That's significant, right?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
100 people at risk. If they had one more attendance point, they were out the door. I was like, look at this number. And some of them were arguing and pushing back. Well, I called off and I did this. I was like, half the time we don't know. So I made the appeal that if we have a system, if we use TeamSense, we will be able to have the level of transparency to attendance and why our people aren't coming to work and what's happening. And we put the responsibility on them
Right.
to make sure they're properly reporting. We put the responsibility on them to address their attendance issue. And we also put the power in our supervisors' hands, right? To have
Mhm.
those critical conversations. So I told him we want to develop and coach our supervisors to be better leaders, to have those crucial conversations, to develop
Ah,
that conflict management,
right.
and talk about reliability in a meaningful way. So simultaneously, while we were preparing to implement TeamSense, we were building our supervisors on coaching. How do you coach people for attendance? How do you coach people for reliability? How do you do those things? And fortunately, our COO was like, "Hey, I want to see the data." So when we
Hmm.
first got it, he was like, "I need to see the dashboard." Now he loves the dashboard. He loves that we can send messages out. He sends kudos out to the teams individually to
Love
each
it.
department. And it's meaningful to people. At first, we had a lot of people pushing back, but I mean, like, I don't want to do this. Now we have people like, oh yeah, I reported my absence through TeamSense. Oh yeah, I got the message through TeamSense. Our division manager sent us the kudos. One of our departments, they use Ram Down, and he'll just send out Ram Down to his team, and they all know what that means.
Oh,
Like we have to hit production, and it's very meaningful. It's connection, right? It's a
right.
connection in a meaningful way. And also understanding people like to be communicated to via text. Like it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Doing
Mhm.
that research even was helpful for us, understanding that TeamSense connected us to our team via text, where before we were making phone calls, we were sending emails. Nobody wanted to do all that. They were like, but you
No.
send someone a quick, simple text. Oh, okay. If I can send a quick, simple text, okay.
Yeah. And your frontline team doesn't have email, right? So you're trying to pick up the phone. Nobody wants to answer the phone for a number they don't recognize, or you just don't,
Exactly.
people don't like talking anymore. But it allowed you to continue to build on that engagement. So you roll out TeamSense. You go to the CEO. We need to do this. Here's the stats. Our attrition is terrible. We're 1 point away from losing almost, 10% of our workforce.
Yes.
You roll it out, you get the data that gives you
Mhm.
insights as to why people are calling off, and you go back to the COO
Mhm.
and you ask him for a new position. Tell me
Yes.
about it.
Yes. So, um, I pulled the data and I said, "Hey, look at these trends. We had a lot of family emergency uh, call offs for like various issues." And I said, "When you look at this, what does that tell you?" He was like, "We have people who are in a crisis." I mean, I could say it a million times, right? But if I'm showing you a number, if I'm proving
Okay.
it with a number, whole different it's game changing, right? Like I said before, and I'll repeat this and scream it from the mountaintops. Everything is a math problem. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what you're facing, everything is a math problem. And he said, we have to do something. And so we hired an individual. Her name is Gina. She is great. She literally takes that attendance data and she synthesizes the data. She's identified how many people have called off multiple times for transportation. So she's able to hook them up with this group to get them to work. She's identified how many people have identified that it's a family crisis and they put whatever their situation is. We have we're partnered with I forgot the name of the group. It helps pay for childcare. So we were able to implement that. I think we pay $200 a month towards their childcare.
Oh,
We Isn't that cool?
it's
Uh,
amazing.
we have several people who would put in there, hey, I'm just having a stressful day. We're able to push out um, our making sure people have access to our EAP number.
Hmm.
So if they, because people were
It's
afraid to
huge,
use
right?
it. Yes, and
And you
now
can
what we're
text that to them.
exactly. And the cool thing about that is what we're implementing now is more videos and things of that nature around, hey, if you're having a mental crisis, there's no shame in using EAP. Post COVID, people are kind of messed up, right? And so we're able to look at that data and look at people, and when she does her thing, talking to people and say, hey, this person was just very stressed out. This person is struggling with their rent. She's able to connect them with the resources that they need to help them. We are helping our people and not penalizing. There are some people who don't want it, right? But those people who do want to be helped, those people who do want uh, to to win, we're able to help them win. And at the same time, we're winning through a system that we didn't really even understand how powerful the tool would be until we got it. We didn't
Wow.
understand what that data would do for us until we were able to get it.
So looking at back on this journey,
Mhm.
what advice would you give to other manufacturing leaders who want to improve their retention without taking a purely punitive approach? Because as you've proven today, punitive isn't the answer.
Exactly. I would I would suggest that they use and understand their workforce, right? I think that a humanistic approach to attendance, so if you match data with a humanistic approach, right? Not saying you don't have policy, but have a policy in place that also has a way that you can support and uphold your people to the policy. That is the greatest blessing in this, right?
It is.
Because when you think about it, people are going to purchase products. That's just
It
we're
will.
consumers. We're
Yep.
consumers. But there is so much value for an organization when people love the company they work for, when they have pride in the company they work for, and when the leaders of that company can help someone beyond just building a tire or building a car or building whatever they're doing, right? Like
Mhm.
as a leader, right? And I do believe that we have more servant leaders in the world than what people think. But as a leader, if you're able to help people and serve people and give people the opportunity to become the best version of themselves and not allow them to slip into poverty, not allow them to slip into homelessness, not allow them to become a burden to the community, but be a productive part of a community, then you're doing something. Then you're cooking with fire. And it's not lip service, right? It's not we're donating money to this and we're donating money to that. No, we are homegrown doing it. We are in house supporting, caring about, and offering a helping hand by utilizing a tool that makes us understand how our workforce is operating, why they're missing work, what their reliability score is, so that we can get in front of it. And I think it's meaningful. It means something when people feel cared about.
It does, and it that's all I've got. That's all I can say. It does. I mean, you've said it better than I ever could. I know we've gone over. If you're okay, I'd like to open it up if anybody has any questions for
Absolutely.
you. If I don't know if anybody has any questions, drop them in the chat. I did get one question sent over. Uh, it says, Mia, you mentioned attendance data eventually made its way into production forecasting and cost per tire tracking. Can you
Mhm.
walk us through how that happened? Was that something you planned from the start, or did it evolve organically once the data was there?
Absolutely. So it was not something we planned. I, to be honest, I just knew that there were so many potential opportunities, right?
Mhm.
Um, but as we started understanding and building out for the rollout of TeamSense and we piloted it in one area, I started to realize, oh, wait a minute, now that we know how many people, of course, we know how many people we need to run,
Hmm.
we understand and know how many people we're going to have scheduled off because there's a window of
Right.
time where people have to call off. Now we know, like, oh, do we need to start having so many people come in, just blindly having a certain number of people come in?
Mm.
Also, if we didn't have anyone sign up for overtime, now we know, hey, we need to trigger something here because this department is going to be 40 hours down. So we need to make sure we get on the horn and get some people in here.
And you back.
So not something that we planned on. And we had to do a full project on how do we have our supervisors analyze the data that they were seeing in TeamSense and be proactive, right? And so that was very meaningful for the supervisors as well because we measure for their performance their financial and business acumen. And so part of our business acumen training is understanding how to forecast, understanding your attendance data, and how to utilize and leverage how
Ah.
you plan your overtime.
So you created a whole new training document
Yes,
and methodology for your supervisors
yes.
post Team Sense based on, knowledge is power. You now have this knowledge. What are you doing with it?
Exactly. And because we can track and identify, we have a scorecard for our supervisors that it measures their attendance. And I wish I could show you my heat map, but it measures the attendance of their employees. How many employees did they reach out to? How many employees did they send to resources? So we're making sure they're intentional about coaching as well as the ER team coaching. So we don't just throw it over to the ER team. We make sure our supervisors are intentional as well.
That's amazing. So you mean it truly is a holistic approach, people first,
People
right?
first. People first.
People first, treat it like a math problem, do the
Yes.
data. The people come first, the people drive the math, and
Yes.
the math drives
The
overstaffing
production.
reduction,
Mhm.
turnover reduction, absenteeism reduction,
Yes.
improved cost per tire. Like
Yes.
me, I just keep saying, you're just one
And you know
phenomenal
what's funny
individual.
about that? It's like
Tell
the
me.
dots started connecting themselves. The
Okay.
dots will start connecting themselves. The bigger and broader you think about it, the dots will connect themselves.
Can you expand on that? How did the dots connect for you?
So for me, it was, oh, okay. So we have people calling off, and you have that reason code, right?
Right.
And you have people calling off for these specific reasons. And I'm like, well, if this is happening, I'll give you an example. We have a department that we had a lot of people calling off, like, wasn't feeling well, back pain, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they were putting stuff like that in there. And I'm
Right.
like, we were able to get our ergonomic team involved and realize that we needed ergomats in this department because a lot of people were experiencing back fatigue and body fatigue. And then out of that data, I was able to look at what team members were calling off. And it happened to be our more tenured team members in that area who wasn't having
Oh.
attendance issues from previous, who were on the same job over and over and over for years, who now they're experiencing some physical things. So not only that, it helps us even with workers' comp. So we don't end up with workers' comp cases. because we're able to look at, okay, hey, we're showing a trend here of people saying like, I'm experiencing, fatigue. They're standing on concrete floors
With no pad,
with no pad. And that has
no ergo
probably
mat.
been happening since the plant opened, but we didn't have transparency to it.
Oh
Now we
my,
have transparency to it, and we're able to say, okay, how many back issues came out of this department previously? How many injuries, sprains, strains, whatever came out of this area previously?
wow.
You get
So
it?
you've seen a metric reduction in safety issues?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It feeds everything. It really
Wow.
truly does. Because people, if you ask the question, people will tell you. I think what people are missing is we believe that, people are cloak and dagger and secretive. That's not true. If you ask, people will tell you, and they will tell you the truth. But what you do with that truth depends on you, right? Because that's how you build trust. I don't want to just collect data on you and then I'm doing nothing with it. Then that's an
Mm,
integrity issue. But if I'm
right.
getting data and I'm telling you and I send out a message to you based on your data, we created this role. Based on your data, we got those ergo mats. Based on your data, we realized that you guys needed X, Y, and Z. We realized we needed to put more based on simple attendance data.
I love that. When you put the number behind it and you make it impersonable, but you make it personable, right? Because you're
Mhm.
no longer attacking an individual,
Right,
you're supporting an
right.
individual. You've used
Right,
TeamSense to support your entire community.
right. We're attacking the issue, not the person.
I love that, Mia.
Yeah, we're attacking the issues and not the person,
I
And,
love
and
that.
I think people miss that, right? Because nine times
Yeah,
out of 10, if one person is having an issue, others are having the same
somebody
thing.
else's. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I know we've gone way over, but I couldn't help myself. It's too good. It's too good. It's too amazing. You are the entire reason why I joined TeamSense. Because
Love
I
that.
felt the same way that you feel. And I know
Yeah.
the difference that it can make. And so in our last 5 minutes here,
Mhm.
if you can share anything, what do you want to share? This is your floor. This is your platform, your story.
Absolutely. So, what I would like to share is I believe Team Sense has made me become better as a leader. I can honestly say, even though I believe, I said that before, everything is a math problem. I'm very numbers driven, very data driven. Uh, but it really made me want to put the humanity back in human resources. It gave me that ability to say without a shadow of a doubt, people need to be supported. We have more people out here feeling lost and lonely and left out. And if we say that we're a family, right? A family shows up for each other.
They do.
And so that's been the number one thing for me.
Mia, I cannot thank you enough for talking to me today. This is an unbelievably powerful conversation. And it started with attendance, right?
Mhm.
But it turned into how data can actually help you not just build stronger operational teams, because you did exactly that, right? As I've reiterated numerous times, but you improved safety, you've improved quality, you've improved engagement, reduced absenteeism, you've reduced overstaffing, you've reduced overtime, you've
Yeah,
reduced absenteeism. Eh, You've done it all. But more importantly, you use the numbers to drive community security.
absolutely. And that's the most important piece. That's the most important piece, right?
It is.
Yeah, that's the most important piece.
Mia, I am a better person. Somebody told me this saying early on that the highest compliment that somebody can give you is that they're a better person for having the opportunity to know you. And I will tell you, I am a better person. I'm a better leader because I've had the opportunity to know you. I used to meet people and say, TeamSense is, it's about improving production one text at a
Mhm,
time. And when I met with somebody yesterday because of you, I said,
mhm.
TeamSense isn't just a call off. It's
Right.
about giving somebody an opportunity for a chance at life and a quality
Yes.
life,
Yes.
one call off at a time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you
You are
so
so
much.
welcome. Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor.
And for those that are still on, I will go ahead. We will post this on YouTube as we do with all of our webinars. And I will make sure that we share details about the book that Mia mentioned so that everybody can try to get a little bit more like Mia.
Well, thank you guys. And I appreciate everybody that stayed on and really leverage your data. Leverage your data, utilize the tool, and great things. Great things come from
Thank you. Until next time, see you on the floor.
it. Bye.
Bye.